The city of Melbourne has a bustling and diverse population of over 4 million people. Many of these people, including us students, rely on the suburban train network to transport them into and around the city. But is our 170-year-old railway system improving fast enough to support the growing population? In this documentary, we will investigate the past history and the future plans for Melbourne's trains and rail infrastructure.
We visited Downer Rail at the Newport workshops and interviewed the operations manager, Simon Bowen, who agreed to help us with our project.
From a Downer point of view here in Melbourne, we do a lot of support on the overhaul, reconditioning and modernisation of the metro fleet. We've been heavily involved the last few years in updating and improving the reliability of the current fleet and working with Metro to find ways where we can extend the life and improve the quality of service coming out from the current fleet.
We will now delve into some of the train models that have been introduced into the Melbourne train system in more recent times.
A legend in the world of Melbourne trains, the Hitachi sets were first introduced in 1972 to replace the first generation trains. Some of these first generation trains has been in service since the late 19th century, being converted to electric power in the 1910s. Hitachi trains brought a stainless steel design inspired by American suburban trains with automatic closing doors and heating. In 2014, remaining Hitachi sets were retired from service, but some still remain parked in yards at Melbourne, providing a glimpse into times past. 3 carriages have even been converted to offices and a burger bar, placed atop a building in Collingwood. Comeng trains were built between 1981 and 1988 by a Dandenong-based company named Commonwealth Engineering. They employed the new stainless steel design first seen on the Hitachi and had passenger air conditioning, which was a first for a Melbourne train. We tend to take aircon for granted, especially on hot afternoons after Wednesday sport, but it was a major technological improvement over the open windows seen on earlier trains. Not to say that these weren't effective. Comens trains are probably the most reliable unit seen on the Melbourne train lines, and they are still running after over 30 years. Because of this, Comenges are the most abundant type of train in the metro fleet, with over 180 sets still in service.
The key with the Comeng is that the physical body of the Comeng, the stainless steel body, is very well designed. It's a very robust body. We do crash repairs on them when they get involved in collisions. They're very easy to repair the body and get the body back into service.
Because the body still has quite a few years left of life in it, the state government has commissioned refurbishment and life extension works on the interior and drive system of the Comeng, which make up 2 of the main projects at Downer Rail.
One has been the modification to the interior of the Comeng fleet, where we've been reconfiguring the interior to allow more passengers to travel inside them. The other major one has been on the Comeng fleet as well in a life extension program. A lot of the control systems within the fleet are over 30 years old. They're quite worn out, which is leading to reliability problems. So we've been doing a major upgrade program to replace the control system in the trains as part of the extension to try and get the Comeng fleet to last another 10 years.
A more modern train is the Siemens Nexus, first introduced in 2003 by one of the Melbourne railway operators named M-Train, at a time when there were 2 different operators running the east and west side of the rail network. The Siemens trains were well designed, with walk-through carriage ends and power doors. However, the fleet was plagued with braking problems, and as a result, the last set was delivered only 3 years later in 2006. The braking problems have since been fixed, and there are still over 60 Siemens sets in use on the network.
There's a lot of good features on the Siemens trains, but there's been reliability issues with some of those features. And in the end, you've got to do the trade-off between reliability and provision of the service versus having some nice features.
The famous train of the East, the X'Trapolis, has been running on Melbourne railway lines since December 27, 2002. These trains currently run on the eastern lines such as Belgrave, Lilydale, Hurstbridge, South Morang, Alamein, and the infamous Glen Waverley line. 8 new X'Trapolises have been ordered to run on the Werribee and Williamstown lines, which are currently undergoing works to support these new trains.
However, Mr. Bowen is not sure that the rail budget is best spent on more X'Trapolis trains.
The major concern with the X'Trapolis trains is that it's now an obsolete or out-of-date technology that's going into the X'Trapolis. It reflects, as I said, literally the concept of using the old mechanical dial phones in a day and an age of smartphones. We would have been better to look at investing in some newer technology and start progressing the high-capacity metro train programs to try and introduce them, or at least in some of the current fleet, is upgrading the technology to a newer technology to meet the future needs.
With the works on level crossings nearly complete, Metro have allocated $1.3 billion to the development and production of 37 new high-capacity trains. These 7-car beasts will be able to transport, in theory, up to 20,000 more passengers per hour through the Melbourne CBD. This project has a 50% local production requirement, meaning that companies such as Alstom, Bombardier, and Downer Rail could contribute.
Downer Rail has plans on how to get the most out of the high-capacity train project, as they are putting in a bid to win the contract to build the trains.
A longer train and a train specifically designed for moving large numbers of people in comfort within the network. A lot of the work from a Downer point of view going into the HCM&T is to have some state-of-the-art technology, but also proven technology, where we know it works, we know it's got the reliability that's needed, because ultimately you can have the fanciest technology in the world in your trains, but if the train isn't there on time and getting the passengers to where they want to be to on time, then there wasn't much point of having the technology.
Most Melbourne workers in the CBD know how much of a hassle it is to get to work. Trains are always packed and are always unreliable as they run late and are delayed. However, driving doesn't help much either because of the city traffic. But these problems will be temporarily solved with the new Sunbury to Cranbourne corridor. This involves an underground corridor being dug between South Kensington and South Yarra Station, which will run through the CBD, creating 6 more stations, which will make the city more accessible and will free up traffic on the roads and on the trains.
With various rail infrastructure projects currently being completed, the Transport Department and Metro need to work with production companies to find effective solutions for Melbourne's future transport